Hello everyone, my name is Lee Trina Kenway, and I've been thinking, there are a lot of things that we love about the Pokemon franchise, right? I mean, this whole channel is dedicated to Pokemon, but what are some of the things we don't like about Pokemon? So today we're going to list off my 10 most hated things about the Pokemon franchise, some of which are at fault of the Pokemon Company and Nintendo, some of which are at fault of us, the fans. So let's talk about it. Starting us off at number 10 are Vaporeon and Gardevoir. Vaporeon and Gardevoir are really cool Pokemon. They're really useful in battle and they have really cool designs. But I almost never mention them on this channel because of y'all. Because of the fans, I don't even want to type Vaporeon or Gardevoir's name into Google. Next up is number 9, the lack of new Pokeballs. The standard Pokeball at this point is as iconic as Pikachu is. However, it seems like GameFreak really isn't interested in giving us any new Pokeballs. I made a whole video a while back talking about which Pokemon would be perfect for each Pokeball, and that led me to the conclusion that we need more variety in our Pokeballs. Complaint number 8, Gorachu. For those of you who don't recognize the name Gorachu, Gorachu was a planned evolution for Raichu from all the way back in Generation 1 that was released by Dr. Lava on Twitter in 2018. Gorachu has been a fan favorite of the Pokemon community ever since. With the release of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in 2022, GameFreak had the perfect opportunity to repackage Gorachu as a past paradox form of Pikachu or Raichu. Instead of giving us one of the coolest beta designs ever, they gave us Brute Bonnet, which absolutely does not need to exist. I mean, come on, who really asked for Brute Bonnet? Would you really take Brute Bonnet over Gorachu? Of course not. Complaint number 7, Porygon 3. Just like with Gorachu, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet had the perfect opportunity to give us a future paradox form of Porygon called Porygon 3. Us fans have been waiting for Porygon 3 ever since we got Porygon Z way back in 2007. For those of you that don't know, Porygon Z was a failed attempt by Silph at making Porygon 3, and it's been 15 years. If they haven't made Porygon 3 by now, maybe Giovanni and Team Rocket should have taken over Silph because clearly they have no idea what they're doing over there. And yes, I am aware that Silph has absolutely nothing to do with past and future Paradox Pokemon. I don't care. I want Porygon 3. Complaint number 6, the fact that Pokemon aren't real. It's 2023. We can biologically engineer almost any animal we want, but you're telling me we can't make Greninja real? Come on, science, get your shit together. Complaint number 5, the fact that GameFreak, the Pokemon Company, and Nintendo refuse to return my calls. Every week I email Nintendo, the Pokemon Company, and GameFreak with my new Pokemon design, and every week I call them to see if they've got that email, and every week they refuse to answer my calls. I mean, look at him. He's a ghost-type Pokemon named Blumpy that also can create fire waffles and throw them at his enemies like Gambit from the X-Men. Who wouldn't want this amazing Pokemon? Every week I call and email them about my new Pokemon design, and every week they ignore me. They did send me this neat little cease and desist letter, so that's pretty cool. For number 4, we have Pokemon Z. Not getting Pokemon Z was one of the biggest disappointments I've ever had with Pokemon. Personally, I tuned out of Pokemon after Generation 3, not because I was getting tired of it, but because I was raised by a single parent with 2 siblings and we simply couldn't afford a DS. So, fast forward to 2016, I'm in my mid-20s with a full-time job who lives just down the street from a pawn shop. When I learned that Pokemon Sun and Moon were coming out later that year, I decided to get back into Pokemon. So I went to my local pawn shop, got a 2DS and a copy of Pokemon Y, and reintroduced myself to the series. I absolutely adore Pokemon X and Y. Kalos is one of my all-time favorite regions, and it has some of my most favorite designs of Pokemon. It's painfully obvious that by the time X and Y came out, the Pokemon Company and GameFreak already had their eyes set on the 20th anniversary with Sun and Moon, and a lot of things with Generation 6 fell through the cracks. Kalos deserved better. Fans of Kalos deserved better. We all deserve Pokemon Z. For number 3, let's talk about unobtainable shinies. At its very core, the heart of the mainline Pokemon games has always centered around collection. The very first tagline for the Pokemon games was, "Gotta catch them all," and we did. Most of the fans did catch them all. And then Generation 2 saw the introduction of shiny Pokemon. There are tons of trainers like myself who either have attempted or are currently attempting to collect a full, perfect living dex, but that simply will never happen. On screen right now, you see a handful of Generations 5, 6, and 7 Pokemon that were unobtainable in games as shiny and never distributed in their shiny forms by the Pokemon Company. What, am I going to have to wait 6 or 7 years to maybe get a shiny Hoopa when XZ and YZ come out? Or am I going to have to wait another 20 to 25 years to maybe get a shiny Calyrex when the Sword and Shield get their remakes? What's the point of not letting us shiny hunt these Pokemon? Some of us enjoy shiny hunting Pokemon, and there's absolutely no reason to keep those Pokemon away from us. For some of us collectors, it's absolute torture knowing that we will never have a full, legitimate, shiny living dex. Number 2, a Twitter account that goes by the name of Play Pokemon, which is a Twitter account for official updates and announcements related to Pokemon, recently tweeted out that as of April 2024, Nintendo 3DS online services will be discontinued, meaning you will no longer be able to trade wirelessly between generations 6 and 7. While the tweet did say that bank-to-home transfers will still be available, the tweet did say, and I quote, "We encourage players to transfer their Pokemon to Pokemon Home at their earliest convenience," implying that bank-to-home transfers will shut off shortly after April 2024. If, once the 3DS service shut down, bank-to-home also shuts down, that will cut off the first 7 generations of Pokemon games. And keep in mind, there are still some Pokemon that cannot be caught on the Nintendo Switch. So that means either you have to get it from an earlier generation or you have to get it from Pokemon Go. Look, I said all that to say this. The Pokemon Company has millions of fans all around the world, some or most of which have legitimate reasons to want to go back and play the older games and visit the older generations. As a parent, I would love to eventually show my daughter the Pokemon games that I grew up with, maybe have her play her own way through Pokemon Yellow, build her own Kanto team, and then transfer them to her Nintendo Switch 2 or 3 or whatever console is going to be out in a couple of years. Some of us older fans still want to play the games we played as kids, whether it's Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal, Emerald, Platinum, Black and White, Black 2 and White 2, X and Y, it doesn't matter. Some of us older players still want to play through those games again and take those Pokemon to the new games. And that brings me to our final point, ports. Whether it's GameFreak or the Pokemon Company or Nintendo itself, they seem completely uninterested in porting any of the mainline games onto the Nintendo Switch. Even as recently as last year, Red, Blue, and Yellow, Gold, Silver, and Crystal were still being purchased on the 3DS eShop on the Virtual Console. Generations 3, 4, and 5 are still popping up on the eBay and the pawn shop markets and are still being sold for upwards of $150. These older games still have a massive following and people still want to play these games. And the technology is absolutely there for generations 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to be ported to the Switch really easily. Hell, it's even possible to port Generation 6 and 7 on the Nintendo Switch. I know that because I have a 3DS emulator on my phone that can play the Alolan games. On top of that, I would absolutely kill to have XD Gale of Darkness and Pokemon Coliseum ported to the Nintendo Switch, but it just doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen. During the Pokemon Day Presents earlier this year, it seemed like the perfect opportunity to announce Generations 1, 2, and 3 to be ported to the Switch, but of course they never did that, making us think that they're never going to. My last hope for this is that they're holding on to Generations 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 ports to use them as a selling point to market the Switch 2 when that comes out in 2024, 2025. Look, fans have made it clear that we absolutely still love the older games. And between the 3DS eShop closing down, 3DS servers closing down, and the potential bank-to-home transfer shutting down, it's genuinely sad when you stop and realize that Nintendo seems to be actively trying to take those older games away from us. Oh, that was, not fun there at the end, but, those are 10 of the biggest problems that I have with Pokemon overall in 2023. If there are any problems that you have with the Pokemon Company or Pokemon as a whole, put them in the comment section below. If there are enough comments to warrant a new video, then I'll do an updated video in the future with your comments. If you think you may be interested in our Discord server, a link for that's in the description below. And I haven't mentioned this in a while, but channel memberships are a thing. If you enjoyed this channel and you enjoy the content I'm making and you feel like you want to support it financially, you can become a member of the channel. I think the lowest tier starts at $2. I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I'll be back next Saturday with something hopefully more lighthearted and fun. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.